Let's see if we go live on YouTube now. And we are. All right. Good morning, Jake.
Morning, Kurt. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Making Turbo Pit Fighter, post-apocalyptic comic in the works. I'm Jake, and this is Kurt, as always, and we are, I'm doing the lettering of the casualties, the Ken Landgraf artwork, and I have this new logo. What do you think?
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'm putting in the lettering, and it's really hard. There's not enough space for the lettering, so we're going to have to condense some of the writing, and that's the fun that we're going to be having on this episode. Now I can only fit like 2 of these word balloons, but check out this the first appearance of Hellclaw, aside from the funk scene. I did so Alex Turbin sent me the copy of Funk, but I didn't open it yet.
Me too.
Yeah, you have to. Oh, there it is. So that's number
on
2.
top of that is Funk number 2, and he sent bonus material.
Oh,
It's a
some
glory.
random access.
It's a and my favorite random access cover. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of fun. It's hard to read, but that's art for you. Indie Comics Creators Calendar. This is quite. This is 2024, so we're a little bit behind. But I thought it was really neat because he's got all of these creators that when you for that month. I mean, we want to talk about old school. This is the way to do it.
So that calendar is available through.
I have no idea.
Alex Turbin?
I have no idea. Alex, you can make a comment below and add a link in the description or in the comments if you do have a 2025 that's rocking. Though it's almost over 2025 if you're still doing them.
Interesting.
Some great creators. It's a really great package here. But the his random access is monthly. The Duke, the secret life of the Duke is going to be coming through random access. He's working on those pages there. That's going to be sweet. And then we'll have our variant version in the first official Doom magazine anthology, Into the World Anthology. But man, hard working creator, Alex Turbin.
Yeah, when I next time I talk to Alex, I gotta tell him we need to. Oh, there we go, right there. And that's the first appearance of Chromita anywhere in the world published. I have Chromita here by Ken Landgraf. And then that's page 2 right there, yeah. And so that has the first sneak peek of Hellclaw and Esoterra, and that comprises the casualties. One thing I gotta say to Alex next time I talk to him is we have to think about the giant automaton. If it's not going to be a huge Gundam, whatever the distraction is going to be for the Duke to attack the Dehubergen headquarters, we have to design it because it might matter in the script writing, what it looks like, how it works, and I don't know if he wants to design it or if he wants me to design it, but if it's not going to be a Gundam, I was thinking about making it like a tripod, like from World of Worlds, some kind of thing like that. But we got to go over it because he's the one that's going to draw it, not me.
Do you have like any specific Gundams in mind? Like the whole, you know what I mean? Like I never took you as like a Gundam fan, and I think aren't you are you using Gundam as like a term for just mechanized suits, like large battle suits, or
Giant robot.
well, Gundam
Yeah.
is not a giant robot per
What,
se.
what
Like you live in a Gundam. I mean, it has to be
a Gundam is like a suit, right?
yeah,
Okay.
mobile Gundam suit.
Um,
Now I'm not going to sit here and try to toe a line of how informed I am about Gundam. That was my brother's territory actually growing up. He collected the models and stuff, so maybe I can get him on if he remembers that whole thing. But you're talking about just a large mechanized Japanese style robot, right? Is that what your vision originally was, or?
well, a large robot. It doesn't have to be Japanese style. But the Japanese definitely have the market cornered on you know, the 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 Gundam. I mean, there's actually one that was built in an amusement park in Japan that's
Yeah,
6 stories high,
yeah,
and
functional too.
yeah, I have a story when I in the '70s when I was just a little kid. Um, my dad had a pal who was an architect, and he was designing airports in Singapore, and he was you know doing some like top level work, and getting paid lots of money, and he would travel to Singapore and come back to Connecticut where his kids were, and he would bring them. He had 2 boys and a girl, so he would bring. This is in the '70s now. He would bring them home these like really heavy um, metal toys that were like Transformers before the Transformers. I know the Transformers were built in '84.
Shogun Warrior. That's
Yeah,
the original. My dad actually for working for DuPont, he had to travel to Japan quite often through the '70s, and Asia was a booming place for industry. But yeah, I got one of those.
right. Well, these were things I've never seen in American toy companies and or media or anything, but they were really well made, heavy, um, like cast metal. Uh, robot toys, and they moved, and you could position them, and some of them were huge, and they were so impressive for like the '70s. Give me a break, man. And you would see, America would have stuff much later, like the Transformers or whatever, and like cheap plastic versions or whatever. But I can only imagine if these things were still around, if those kids had saved them, what they would be worth. Oh my God. And it just the point is that Japan was so far ahead of us in technology, even the toys, and the imagining the giant automatons. But to just to finish up, yeah, we I don't mind anything that Alex might want to design, but the things I've always been impressed with are the Jeff Darrow robots, like Big Boy and what is
Yeah,
it, little robot and Big Boy. The Iron Giant. Um, I thought the Iron Giant was a pretty impressive movie, animated movie. So yeah, we got to just talk about whatever he wants to do with that. So that's the next thing up because I only have like a couple of pages left to script for him. I think maybe 3 more pages. Oh no, 4 more pages. Maybe if it's an 11 pager, and then we'll have the 11 pages finalized for him to draw and ink, and then we could do the lettering. So uh, we'll catch up with him when he's around. But what else is going on? So You are, I notice, inking a random DOOMMag's End of the World Timeline sketch. So,
Spot illustration. Yeah. I finished the 80% skeletal inking of issue 1. So pages 19 to 28 are ready to start getting into my distressed look, tone, and texture valuing system thing. But I really don't want, I feel like that's jumping ahead. I had mentioned last episode, I think, either
yeah.
way, that, we're going to need some spot illustrations. You need to get a scanner. You're going to get a scanner. And then, give me some decent scans, because you can kind of see, I print these for references, but because you take a photograph of it and your light source is above, it's a bitch to edit, that kind of. This one was probably the best one.
Right.
So I just grabbed the 3 best that you had sent for the Substack, and I just figured, let me just start getting going.
So are you proposing that we're going to be posting the text that goes along with those characters?
I have no idea. Like I said, I mean, I'm not, it's not my job to propose. But these were the only reason I chose these 3 is that out of all the sketches that I've received for the Substack from you, which have just been like camera flashes from, your sketchbook and stuff, these were the ones that kind of worked enough in my process of doing a 10% printout of it and then inking on it. So
yeah. Well, we should discuss this. We're gonna have some zine pages, and we're gonna be posting some prose with pictures that are gonna be designed pages that go together and look like the last 2 pages of the second teaser, which I think we're both kind of happy with. They invite you to read, for those of us who still know how to read, and they and they're cool pictures, and they tell stories and everything. But there's a lot there, and we have to try to organize which ones we're gonna run. Like that character you're drawing right there, I don't even know who that is.
Charvel. It says Charvel, first of her kind.
Well, yeah, that changed. We that could be one of the 5 enhanced, the 5 first enhanced human. But Charvel, I have multiple other sketches of, because she went over eventually to Ken Landgraf. So I have character design. She's a tall, very, very, very tall, skinny basketball player, or slender basketball player. And that character could be the ones that we haven't designed so far. So, Elevena will enhance, once she develops the ability to enhance humans, and she moves from animal trials to human trials. This is leading up to the year 2222. There will be 5 subjects that will comprise her super squadron of security force females, and they'll be called the Rectifiers. And let me see if I can remember all their names by heart. I know the first one was Charvel. The second one, one of them is Pitch Blend, who appears in the Company Man story. Another one is Shadow, which is spelled weird, and then another one is Quadra, and we haven't really designed her yet. And I think the last one, yeah. So it was Charvel, Quadra, Pitch Blend, Shadow, and one other. I'm not going to remember it right quick. But if you want to talk about them, I don't have anything written.
No, I thought I'm not doing this to talk about. I'm doing this to occupy myself while we talk about the Ken Landgraf 6-pager,
Yeah.
because we had an off-camera conversation about, you have already made some edits to the pages, and if you don't know Ken's work, then you're truly missing out. He's iconographic in the way that he approaches, um, and this is my take on him and why I get so excited about his work, is like the whole entire page is compositionally just a comic book eyeball feast. You can spend a lot of time in there sorting things out, figuring things out, but it's always a good time. There's no nonsense in there. There's nobody standing around talking. So he's truly old school outlaw. Now, the script that you gave him, in directive and some sketches, right? There were a couple of sketches attached to the script. He's one that takes. I'm going to assume, and I have talked to him about his process a bit, and he kind of always agrees when I make these assumptions, which is that he kind of just he absorbs the whole thing of the script, and then he goes. He just goes. He knows he's got he's got 4 panels, big one, and then he goes. But some elements have been left out. You were saying, this is what we were talking about a couple days ago, was like a flame around the hand, right? This flame coming through and stuff.
Yeah. So here's the description of that panel right there.
Okay.
So it says splash panel shows Hell Claw stepping. Oh no, yeah. Well, that was the last one, but that one said, yeah, basically a giant fiery claw smashes through the wall, debris goes everywhere. The sound effect was like ka-slam or something like that. So he made it more just a regular hand, and so I had to go in and edit that and add the fire to it, because we have to explain that this is Hellclaw. Her fundamental power is making a claw out of fire. So I think that's conveyed here, and I changed the artwork. This is a low res preview, but I have it in Photoshop. And I'm also making a lot of adjustments with the dialogue. For one thing, there's not so much room, and I have to cut down some of this dialogue. So here I had Hellclaw having 2 word balloons. Sorry we came before the action started, kid, but we're here to mop up the filth. We're here now to mop up the filth. Yeah, that's not going to fit in this panel, obviously, and I really dread the idea of blocking, Ken's beautiful artwork, but I might have to.
Like this does come up as a non-essential space. Let me.
Well, there's plenty of non-essential space, but not. It has to be laid out. For one thing, it has to be in the sequence that you want it. Because the people are talking in order.
With my crumb with him, I got very much what I wanted, which was a similar treatment. But you can see right here, they enter the next corridor, and he has this like 3 panel breakup of movement through, and then this is really great. But I just really chose 2 spaces for the text that I needed to just drop in there to help lead through. But even here, I'm using the margin. That's why I have this white surrounding, a lot bigger, just to kind of help create a bigger visual break. But I just judged. I pulled a judgment call and said, this is the least essential of information in the comic book, as well as down here, and then it leads off. So, and this is for a 4-pager I have running in my Crom anthology that I'm continually working on and will hope to have released in October 2025.
Right. Yeah, so it's all a matter of copy fitting and moving things around and
paring down a little bit on the jargon.
Create, creatively, working with what got turned in. This is the age old thing. So I'm making a lot of like changes. Like she doesn't need to say for Christ's sake. We can say, hey, Chromita, could this curve be any more cliched? Now this introduces, that Chromita's there because before I had Charvel saying Heliclaw, Chromita, Esoterra, but you can't really see them here, so I don't know if that makes too much sense. So this should probably just say Hellclaw, and then we'll introduce Esoterra and Chromita as they appear. I could say why it's the Hellclaw, or it's the Hellclaw, or it's Hellclaw.
I like it's Hellclaw.
Yeah. So this so this could be a little lower, and we're just gonna try and zip through all these pages doing that. But there are some art edits. It's really fun, by the way, to make some art edits as opposed to just copy, because Ken's art is so great and it's such a canvas to work on. Although I'm trying to do as little as possible, so that we keep his keep it as close as we can to what's there. But
well, story integrity is a must. Like nobody's going to argue or shit on you for editing a master's artwork. I mean, because you're not actually manipulating the original page, right? Not cutting panels out. It's like what they did on the printing presses back in the old school days. Like, I can't, that's not going to fit. I got to trim it down. And they take out the big hacking shears and go through it. I mean, you're making all of these digitally, and the pages themselves maintain their own sense of, like an artifact.
Yeah, so that was something that they had me do at Valiant when I was an intern at Valiant in my 20s briefly. Because they offered me a job lettering, and for like $11 an hour. This was in the 90s, and that's more than minimum wage. But I was making a lot more at the sign company, hanging signs and installing signs and all that. But they one thing that they would have you do if there wasn't enough room for the word balloons, they would Xerox the black and white line art down to 90%, and they would add a little more space for the word balloons, but then they would have some intern like me do the connection, right? So you would have to like extend the background or extend the panel, or make it fit. And so because if you're shooting it down to 90%, you'll get your word balloon in there, but you'll also but the box will be smaller now. And so or sometimes they had to shoot it down to 80%. It all depended on how much of the text didn't fit. So I'm doing a version of that. I did have to do, I think I had to do that here with one of these panels already so far. And make more room. I thought Ken left ample room for the word balloons, but I have a lot of dialogue here. So I'm trying to split the difference and get rid of some of the dialogue as we kind of jockey everything together. And I have room here for another line without getting in the way of too much stuff. So I'm going to try and fit it all in, but I'm not going to be able to say, sorry, we came before the action started, kid, but we're here now to mop up the filth. That's going to have to change to, sorry, we're late, kid. You know, but
Pardon
yeah,
our punctuality.
right. And then I have Chromita here in my best Deathlock font. But this is the first time she's speaking, so whatever I establish as the font has to be the font for the rest of the way.
The rest of our
I'm just using
lives.
OCRA, which looks like this, and I'm sure there's a better one. You know, there's got
I
to be.
dig that. I dig
Yeah.
that. We do have that in the Cremita pages in Funk too.
Oh, we do. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I think let me here. I'll just verify that.
Yeah.
But
It sounded familiar.
well, here's Step Away from the Youth now. That doesn't look like the same thing. You changed it because I kept in that font and printed it at 100% when I ran the page, or I might have done a clip. But yeah, that was the only one there. But I don't know. I think you might have. It does look different here. You see that?
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Oh, that is no. I think you hand lettered that, right?
Nope, nope.
So
That's you. I had, like I said, I had left that font in there, and then when you did what you're doing now to these pages before they went to Alex,
yeah.
that was an edit there.
Okay, so I think that's what I have here, except it's more letter spacing. So I can definitely spread out the letter spacing. But show it
Okay.
real close to the camera. Uh, did I hand letter that?
I think it's computer. It's a
I
font.
don't I don't know what font that would be because I
Is
have
there
all
like a version? Is
I have
there a
all my
version
font-
you?
I have all my
Is there?
fonts here.
Yeah, but
Um,
did you create a variant version to that? Just that like thick and bold or italicized? Is there another form of that version of that font?
oh, let's see. Italic, no. Of OCRA. No, this is OCRA. This is the font that appears on the bottom of checks because OCR stands for optical character recognition. It's automatically detecting the numbers of your checking account and the bank's routing number. Um, and so they offer a font of it, which I downloaded. I don't know. I'll see. I'll have to see my
I
copy.
like the one. I like the one you have now. And as I said, I had that was I left that in. I might have even just printed and cut it out and then pasted into the page. I don't have the page near me to verify that, but I like the font. I'm just gonna put two thumbs up for the font.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, we'll work it out. I could. I mean, if I use that, um, it'll be workable. But I have like I've already I'm gonna have to just copy and paste this to the next one and the next one and the next one because it's not like you can just open up a new word balloon and type this out. I have horizontal spacing, I have kerning, I have line spacing. It's funny. It's at this is supposed to be 11. This comic font is 11 points, and this robot font is only 9 points, and they're basically the same height. So sometimes the type height is not the actual weight of the letters that you end up getting, and you can uh, lower the height and then increase the horizontal width in the other dimension. to get a substantial letter. But yeah, that's all it's all just by eye. I mean, it's funny reading all these comics, like even Marvel, DC, and then all these indies, how everybody's different on their lettering, and some artists are really not that into lettering, and they just type out a font, and even at the highest levels of comic publishing. So you don't want it to be a distraction, but you but you also want it to. Oh no, I was thinking about the heavy metal. Remember, last week we did a flip through of Heavy Metal magazine, the first new issue on the reboot, and the lettering was just someone just typed out a font, and they laid it in stark black letters on a stark white background, and I thought maybe that's one aspect of the production that they might want to spend a little more time on, but.
Yeah, and it
So
seems to be the contention inside comic book making, in because when you go back to the old days before computers, became this dominant force in the graphic illustration art world, not only just comics, but the affordability of cheapening some aspect of the process building, that would be the first thing you could go for, because other than the editor going through the Word doc or whatever it was at that time, then all it takes is a copy and pasting and posting type of individual. But before that, the editor and a letterer probably worked side by side. I mean, the letterer's desk might have been right next to the editor's desk, or the office at least, because those two guys are the jerks that are going to be blamed for, misspelling a word, or, what goes from there. But, it's a very, it's just not a sexy job in art, for, people like, ooh, wow, man, you did the lettering. The lettering was so cool. But I still find people are making comments towards somebody's lettering on a comic. We do it, between hand lettering, seeing books hand lettered, and if there's digitally colored, they're using a very specific palette that is either come to them by design or they've designed it themselves, not just red, blue, and yellow, purple, green, crayon box coloring and stuff. So it definitely helps one up their game, if you're gonna, do that hand letter.
Yeah,
And
I feel good about our lettering, but the on the other side, you take a long time on it, and people don't pay that much attention to it.
well, my thing is that I want my work to read as one object, very much like Ken. So when I have to do my typing, I just, create a layer, print out the type, 10% opacity, and then hand layer it, and then bring it back in Photoshop, and overlay it, and go from there. But the eyeball is not distracted because it hits something that's non-handmade. It's actually handwritten. It might look a bit janky, which is I'm fine with, aesthetically for my work, but for somebody else, I don't know. You can't please everybody all the time, but I think there comes a point where you I don't think it's a good idea to try to make a comic book look like a comic book and then have very little understanding and appreciation for the tool, and then just when you get to lettering a comic, gloss right over it. I mean, we could even we could even add to this conversation, Jake. Exactly what we're doing is not take the time to place the word balloons. Like that's a huge aspect of laying out the comic book. is where the and I'm not saying I'm I'm that good at it, or it's at the top of my list at the beginning of laying out a comic, but really good comic books start with where those word balloons narration boxes are going to be. It's all thought out.
I can't believe in some comics they I complain that a lot of nowadays artists, that the art is so sparse, and so you have these just big empty spaces and they just put like a background color in or a blend, and then on top of all that they're going to with all this extra space lying around, they're going to take the word balloon and block a character or block some some actual artwork because they want it to be close to the character or something, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll point all that kind of stuff out in our comics that influence videos.
We do.
But I mean, I could suggest what I would do as a typographer, on a lot of these cases, because you could really, improve, I think, on what the industry does in general. In general nowadays they just have a font. And they as well. It's computerized now. This is automation. This is great. With now the artist and the inker can spend time doing that, and they don't have to worry about a letterer. You don't have to hire a guy or a girl. And so that's where we're at. But as a reader, as a comic aficionado. Oh wait, don't write Charvel's name on there because that's not Charvel.
It's not.
Yeah, we just got through that conversation. That was the first thing.
But didn't you? Well, no, you said there's many reiterations of her. There's very versions of her.
No, I said that was one of the first sketches where we thought that was going to be Charvel, but we ended up making her a very, very tall, slender basketball player.
Ah, okay.
Right. So maybe
I did not compute. But we can cut this out and use it for something else in the.
Well, I guess you want to finish doing that, okay?
Yeah, I don't understand.
No, that's definitely not Charvel.
I know, but it's still usable as a graphic. You could just cut this out.
You mean for Charvel?
Anybody, for Charvel. This is not Charvel, then
right. We could
that's not Charvel, but it's
still put that lettering on a Charvel picture. Yeah.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. See, I didn't know you were going to be drawing that. That's why I would have went over it with you. But that's all right.
It's okay.
So here we have to say something. Sorry, relate to the party kids. Sorry, relate to so. I want to minimize how much this is blocking, so I'll make this tall and skinny here. It's funny, like when the artist is just riffing and doing their thing, they probably don't think about all this stuff. But the script has a lot. You could look at the script and see that there's a lot of lettering there. And I think two word balloons for one character in one panel, it's probably a lot, they edit it out. They'll be like, make that the book version. So if we say, sorry, we're late to the party kid, sorry, we're late to the action kid, we could also have the word balloon spilling out over here, left and right. Maybe we get a couple more. So one thing we wanted to do this episode was go over some sketches that I should be sending to you for inking, right?
Yeah, once they're scanned.
Well, I would have to send you the originals, I would think, right?
Well, if you're not going to get a scanner.
Well, if I get a scanner, then I have about 30 other pages to scan first. But good point.
Because I don't want to go through all the time and energy it takes to repair the art out of a poorly lit photograph. That's like one of the beauties. That's the beauty of
well,
it's one thing to make a just a web graphic, on the fly, but to have actually something, I'm actually trying to figure out how to use this. I mean, I might just use it, leave it, just as a graphic, but it has its challenges, but
yeah,
I'm really hoping. I'm looking forward to the day when you get a scanner. I'm just looking forward to the day.
I have to do
Good.
chapter 1. Yeah.
Good. That's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and block some art here because this is tall and thin and that's really bugging me. And should I say sorry relate to the action or sorry relate to the party, kid?
Action. I like the action.
All right, and this will fit here. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. Late to the action. Tried it both ways, and this is really getting to be this quark is really getting to be tricky because it's like featherlight touches are triggering actions that I'd rather it be harder. All right, this will probably be good here. This is a compromise of horizontal and vertical. I have to make this a little deeper like that. So yeah, we we sent Alex. Alex Turbin has like I think 7 fully scripted pages, and I think you and I mentioned it this week. We should probably take a look at the progress on the art with him, right?
Soon.
Yeah, at some point because we saw some of he's been sending me these pictures and everything, but we should do an episode and discuss it and everything. So make sure everybody's on the right page and everything. I think it's gonna be good. Let's put a ... here. And oops. And all right, move on to the next panel. Number 3. This says, let's see. Laying on his back amid smoking debris, Dr. Bruno angrily spits orders pointing at Hellclaw. Dr. Bruno, on the contrary, it is you who is headed for the scrap heap. Destroy them. Oh, great. So that means... he's responding to what Chromita is saying. That means I can't have this word balloon down here. Maybe I'll just hold this in abeyance for now. See how one thing flows to the other? So I'm just gonna table this for now. Maybe you know what I could do? I could very easily fit in "Sorry We're Late, Kid" and
I like that. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, but then hey, right? This is what I didn't like. Hey, "Sorry We're Late, Kid." Hey, Chromita, could this perv be any more cliched? Or should I have "Sorry We're Late, Kid" after that? What's that?
Oh, you're saying placement.
Well, sequencing, because the original script had 2 word balloons for Hellclaw, and Chromita was speaking in between. Chromita had the last word. But I don't know, there wasn't enough room to fit it all. So should I say, hey, Chromita, could this perv be any more cliched first? Or should I say, sorry, we're late to the action kid. Sorry, we're late, kid.
I think that's better first. I think that's
yeah.
Sorry, and then hey, could this yeah, that makes complete sense
All right.
to me.
So I got to move all this down like this. Oops, what else is moving? Something else is moving. What is this over here? The hill, it's Hillclaw. All right. Why is this getting grabbed? Huh? Some of this is really funky. Yeah. So how was your week? Were you just working a lot on releasing the new Crom?
Hey, a lot on Crom. What was some of the bigger? I'm sorry, I'm looking over my shoulder on my work table. Yeah, I'm getting closer and closer to. I have my stories to finish. You know that I'm already past the graphite washing stage, so I now just need to do all the touch-ups. But not tomorrow. So this is I've been looking forward to. So I'm good friends with a fantasy artist, a notable fantasy artist by the name of Matt Stewicki, who lives just a shot down the street from me in Wilmington, Delaware, and he's got an oversized printer that prints high quality. And last time I was together, I was sharing what I was working on with the Crom. And I showed this drawing, and he was like, "Well, how you gonna paint that? Yeah, I got these paint markers. Yeah, I was going through everything." I said, "But my problem is this is the biggest that I can print Crom. I can print anything on my printer, which is 13 by 19, and I just I need a larger printing. Forgetting that he has this large. He's like, "Well, let me print it. How big do you want to go?" And so we got into this big conversation. So Tuesday, I'm going down to have lunch with him and hang out, catch up, and then also get a larger printout, probably out to 17 by 24-ish is what I'm going for, because I just don't want. I want to be able to build up these two characters specifically just to a place where, they stand out a bit on their own, not just like, statues or something for that extent. But the thing I'm going to print in, I'm putting a orange overlay of color to just and it's like, so because this is all lava, so all this is lava, and then I got to work on this as if the ground is breaking underneath Crom, and make it look all cool. And for that, so that's going to be a really big, exciting thing. But other than that, it's just, my days are, very much scheduled out from like 5:30 in the morning until 3:30, and it's just like almost like every hour I have something scheduled to come back to and work on and everything. But the biggest news is. I lost thing is the indie creator update reel. I just finished number 2 of that, and it will be going out tomorrow. And just so everybody knows, is that Jake and I do a indie creator, exchange, where then we've exchanged our turbo teaser, and then the other artist sends us comics, and then we get together and talk and stuff. So we've been up to like 48 interviews, I think, something like that. And some multiples, like we've had people back on. So I reached out to everybody because at the end of most of these interviews, I always get caught saying, which is true, I want to be able to have a second conversation, follow-up conversation with them. But it just, we only do this every Sunday. So, and we don't do it every Sunday, the interview. I asked the artist if they'd like to submit a less than 1 minute update, and we'll stick, 5 or 6 of them together and release them on the channel to kind of hear from them, but have other people, get a notification on who they are and what they're working on. So, The first month is good. 20, no, 16 were submitted, I think is what it was. I had 664. Yeah. So no, 16. So 16 I hadn't submitted from everybody. A lot of people are not working on things, or they're kind of in between a space. They don't really have anything they feel worthwhile to share. Mm-hmm. But the idea is to share. I'm not looking for a commercial, although some of them are really well done, in like a fancy little eyeball feast there. But for the most part, the ones that are really engaging, here's one, or I should say, like Jason Schoonover. Did you get a little packet from Jason on his zines?
Yeah, he sent me some zines.
Yep. So he did a, that's going to be coming out tomorrow, where he's flipping through and checking these out. And then he, of course, then sends us this gift package, which is just absolutely gracious of him. I hate always using the phrase like, this guy's one of my favorites, because that list can be, a couple hundred people long. But Jason, we worked together on Crom. He did a Crom pinup, and it was used for an alternate cover. But I found him on Instagram and started following him, and had been following him for a while. One of the other artists, David Molina, who was the first person. We were in a conversation. I said, yeah. He was like, oh, how many people are you going to get involved? And I said, well, I'm trying to keep to like 5. I got one more person, and I mentioned to David Molina, Jason Schoonover, and he goes, oh, hell yeah. He goes, I follow that guy, So that's pretty cool. And just finished yesterday, Jason wrote and pencil laid out, it's called Crom the Horror, which is a 7-pager. And I finished doing my distressed tone and texture on here, and am really, really excited. And, as I say, these pages are not art. The art is the final printing. So what I'm doing is I'm making a whole bunch of stuff, and then I got to see what it looks like in printing. And I'm really excited to see these and see what happens in them when they do print, but also where they're also organized in the Crom Anthology, which is currently what I'm working on. And then the last little bit of news is I have prepared and submitted to Mixum 20 copies of a second printing of what I would coin my version of the Turbo Teaser, the second Turbo Teaser, which is the first 12 pages.
Plus material.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to use Mixum for a while now. The Jamie Barrows and the Crom Brotherhood, they just released number 2 of Brutal Blade of Crom. Jamie does the books through Mixum. So I was like, you know what? Let me just see what they're really, really all about. Now, here's the bonus. This is what I really am going to try to figure out. So any of you people in Canada, England, Australia, New Zealand, get ready, because you're going to be able to, hopefully, because Mixum has print shops in all of those other countries, order a copy and pay your local postage. Like, for instance, Royal Mail postage, like our media mail in England, is $5.25. So this could be really, really a game changer, I think, especially with print costs as this astronaut. $67 to ship a comic book, one of my Crom collected, 140 pages, magazine size, 13 ounces, $65 to go to England. Couldn't find anybody to ship this for anything less than, but if you use a print on demand like Lulu or now Mixum, I'll see if this is actually, true and doable, and how it works. is the figuring out part. Is it's a huge game changer. It's just if somebody can order from you online, you know, in their country, and it's printed and then shipped to you within 7 to 10 days, it's huge. It's huge. And Mixam does some really amazing quality, probably a little too quality for me. I'm using the zine printing, which is just like this, 8.5, 11 by 17s folded, you know, so it's 16 pages. It's the same kind of thing. They don't have the cream color paper, but I put a newsprint kind of texture. So it's going to be really interesting to get those. I'm hoping to actually get them by next week. So, of course, once I have them, they will be there. I only got 20 because we're probably going to have about 10 more people that I'd like to do exchanges with throughout the year, you know, for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we will have Doom Magazine #1 in closing at the end of the year. So then that would be 2026's comic that would be for the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a couple of things I've been working on this week.
Yeah, you're a busy boy. Of course, I start school tomorrow, but it's not no students yet. That isn't until Labor Day. But yeah, this summer, you know, a lot of my summer was taken up with the move. It was weeks and weeks of packing boxes, moving, closings, everything. So maybe next summer it'll be a little more fun.
Yeah, just don't move, Nick. Just don't move.
Well, yeah, I'm not moving for a while now. I'm in for a bit now. But yeah, how nice it would be to just you know, be able to draw more and ink more and write more and you know, publish. You know, all the other parts of publishing. You know, chief cook and bottle washer, all that kind of stuff. If you're going to reprint some turbo teasers, then that means I probably don't have to. I only have like 7 or 8 copies left, but you know, it might last me until we have DOOMMag's #1 out. So it's going to be fun to get back to Turbo. You know, this DOOMMag's #1 anthology. You had a great point, you know, about you know, I was like, yeah, you know, the more collaborators we get, you know, the less we have to do. And you're like, no, it doesn't work that way. Because you know, we have to do the lettering now. So we're getting all this art, and that's great, but you know, but we still have to you know, do the art editing is what I'm doing here, and then the lettering and production, you know, sending it to the printer, shipping, folding, you know, or shipping stuff out, and promotion and all that. But yeah, it's nice. It'll be nice to have our first anthology out. We'll have the next sequence of turbo pages. We'll have the Ken Landgraf, we'll have the Chromita, we'll have the Alex Turbin, and then we'll have the zine stuff. So it should be a pretty substantial book, 32 pages, interior plus covers. Should be nice.
So I just looked at the time. We're coming up on the 11:15 marker. We have an interview just to share with everybody where we're at on the Indie Creator Exchange. We have Alfred Carceri. So he's going to be on our follow-up episode.
I have that, yeah.
Yeah. So this is then next week we have Scott Harris King. Now these are individuals we met at IC3. I definitely met them. Went to their table, had them on the list, having gone through their profiles on IC3's website, and also, you know, following them on Instagram. Then we have this is so long overdue for me, at least, is Jeff Lafferty, the Berserkonaut. this is going to be for me a huge interview. Huge fan of him and his work and the way he's been going about things. Of course, then we have Ian Cinco, 28th of September. We'll be recording. I literally got this leaving on Sunday at IC3. He was looking for me because you had a conversation with him, and saw him in the elevator, and he handed me the comic book, and we exchanged some words, and then jumped in the car and took off. So phenomenal. And then just recently got confirmation for October 5th, zombie date night for Steve Urea. So we've got a lot going on. That's already taking us into October. I'm doing very well, I might say, in giving us a day off in between 2 interviews, which I think we're going to definitely be doing our indie creator, our Comics at Influence. We did it live last week, and it was a huge success, probably because it was Power Pulp comics. I had bought a bunch of comics for my birthday and reviewed them. So we're going to give that a shot again in 2 weeks. So we got 2 weeks and then third week and everything. But other than that, Jake, you want to take us out, close this episode down?
All right. Yeah, I finished this next panel here. On the contrary, it is you headed for the scrap heap. Bianca, destroy them. I'm got to look up the rest of the dialogue and the script because I don't have anything here or here, and it seems like there's something missing. But I'll go do that. Yeah, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Making Turbo Pit Fighter. You can check out our other channels. We have Comics and Influence where we do flip throughs. And I just came across some crazy comics that I want to show you. The next time we do that, I don't know where I got these from, but I've been moving around, and we got to talk about some of these. And also, I have some comics that I made when I was in college, and I haven't looked at for a long time. But there's that, and then our indie creator interviews, indie creator exchange. Yeah, we have dozens and dozens of episodes. Go ahead and binge watch them when you're sitting there drawing or when you're hanging out, reading comics, collecting comics, reviewing comics. Feel free to put us in your algorithm. But that's it. We'll see you guys next Sunday, and we'll be here live. I'm going to be doing the next page after this. I'm probably going to work on this a little bit more today, but we'll be getting through this 6-pager featuring the casualties, and we'll be talking with Kurt a little bit more about what we should be inking. We'll plan this a little bit more methodically about what we could be inking for the zine pages, because that sounds like a lot of fun. So we'll see you guys the next Sunday.
See you next Sunday, Jake.
All right, peace.